3 for Algebra 2. We're just practicing simplifying and talking about undefined values for rational expressions. So we're working on, remember, we're working on our reading math skills. So just to summarize, I made this quick video. So let's start with number 1. You can see that we're dividing, that's what this fraction bar means, this expression and this expression. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of split them up. So they make more sense. So if you look at the 24 and the 9, you realize that you need to use simplified fractions on this one, or 24 divided by 9. So because 9 doesn't go into 24 evenly, we're going to just simplify that. They both have 3 as factors. So when we cross off the 24 and cross off the 9, they both have 3 as factors. We get 8 over 3. The x to the 14th over x to the 16th, you know I've talked to you about this. You can take 14 minus 16. You're going to get negative 2, x to the negative 2. But we can realize that we have 16 in the bottom, 14 on top. When we subtract those two numbers, we get 2, but they're left over in the bottom. So our answer is 8 over 3x squared. Okay, number 2, again, let's read the math. Your first tendency is going to be what? Your first tendency is going to be to cross off that 6 and that 3 because you're going to think they cross off just like you did on these. However, because we're multiplying these two but adding these two, we can't cross those off, so we have to factor. Okay? The top does not factor, so we copy that. The bottom does factor, and I went ahead and wrote it with the 6 over the 3 because just like the 24 and the 9 could be simplified, 6 divided by 3 is simply 2. So I get 2x cubed over what's left in the bottom, x plus 4. Okay, I want you to try this one on your own before I talk through it. Are we dividing a rational expression? Yes. Are we multiplying things or adding things? We're adding things, so we have to factor first. So pause the video and try to factor. Okay, hopefully you tried that. When you factor the numerator, you should get x plus 4 times x minus 3, and when you factor the denominator, you should get x plus 4 times x plus 1. The x plus 4s are being multiplied. This expression is being multiplied, so you cross it off. You get x minus 3 over x plus 1. Now, real quick, let's talk about undefined values before we move on. Where do we look for that? Yes, the denominator, okay? The denominator of this one is 9x to the 16th. The only value of x for that has nothing to do with 9 and has nothing to do with 16. What number would you plug in for x here to get 0? The answer is 0. What about the second one? Okay, let's jump down to this because this is easier to solve. We set x plus 4 equal to 0, and we realize that if we plug in negative 4 here, we're going to get a 0 for a denominator. So x cannot equal negative 4. And finally, we look at the denominator here. Remember, you're going back a step. It's both the factored binomials here. It's negative 4 and negative 1 are the values that x cannot equal. Okay, number 4 and number 5, we're going to look at them together. We are having a quiz on this, so at any time if you just want to pause and try them, that'd probably be really helpful. So pause and try them, and then watch the video and see if you did them right. So let me just give you a couple hints before you start. The division sign says I'm dividing this fraction by this fraction. When I divide a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. When you write the reciprocal, you might as well go ahead and factor everything you can. In number 5, what are we doing to these two expressions? We're subtracting them. So we look and notice that we have a common denominator. So we can combine like terms in the numerator. Your last hint is to distribute this minus sign to both parts and then combine like terms, like I said. Okay, pause the video and try it on your paper. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through it quickly. The first one, when I flip, I always factor at the same time. So not only am I going to flip this fraction, I'm going to factor this, this, and this, because all three of those factor, and this is what it looks like. The factored form of the numerator here looks like this. The factored form of this is in the bottom now, and the factored form is this. This is here. You can notice that I have several things that cross off. X minus 3, and x minus 2, and x minus 2. My final answer, 2 parentheses x plus 5. That's what's left in the top. and an x plus 3 in the bottom. You're going to usually assume with division problems that x can be any number. You're going to assume that because it's going to tell you that. All right, the next one is to combine like terms by distributing this negative sign to both parts. And then when I combine like terms, the x squareds cancel out, and I get 2x plus 9 over x plus 4. Number 6 and 7, you have a couple choices here. You can either multiply by the least common denominator. I think both of these problems would warrant that. Or you can realize I'm simply dividing a fraction by a fraction, just like back a slide. When we divided a fraction by a fraction, we simply copied the first fraction and flipped the second one. We can do that. We can do that on this slide, or even this one, but let's try it both ways. So in this first example, I'm going to go ahead and just flip the second one. So I took the 8 and put it in the top, and the x plus 2 and put it in the bottom. I changed my symbol from division to multiplication by using a dot. And I realize that there's really nothing that cancels out, so I get 8 times x minus 6 over 5 times x plus 2. Now go back up to the original problem. What if I had multiplied the top and the bottom by 8 times 5, or 40? I would have canceled the 5's and got an 8 in the top, canceled the 8's and got a 5 in the bottom. Same difference, same answer. The next one, I've decided to go ahead and multiply by the least common denominator. I put it in red for you. The least common denominator is looking at this denominator, this one, and the x minus 2, and multiplying by all of them, basically. I'm going to show you what cancels in the first fraction, the 4 and the 4. The second fraction, what cancels is the x and the x. And in this bottom here, the x minus 2 cancels with the x minus 2. I noticed some of you, when you were doing these, were having trouble with this. Maybe it would help you to write this red stuff here in the numerator. It is a numerator. Write it over 1 if you have to, if that helps you. Move it up a little bit if that helps you. Okay, if you look at the top, we're left with x times x, or x squared times x minus 2, minus 4 times x minus 2, all over 4x times x plus 2. So I've just taken all the red and either just place them next to basically what they're being multiplied by. Recognizing that this x minus 2 and this x minus 2 match, I can take x squared minus 4 and everything on the outside. Then I can notice that this can be factored into x minus 2, x plus 2. And now you can see that these two cancel, and I get x minus 2 squared. Okay, I can't get to it, but that says x minus 2 times x minus 2 all over what's left in the denominator, which is just 4x. Again, we're going to probably have directions that say assume all values of x are defined. The last one is section 6, which is the one we didn't cover too much on Friday with the shortened period, but we have covered it, so you can look back through your notes or through the book. Let's just remember that when we have a cube root of two different parts, we can simply break them into their two parts. Recognizing that the cube root of 27 is the same as 27 to the 1/3. Okay, remember this little number goes in the denominator. The answer to that part is 3. And we can write the second part as x to the, this part goes to the denominator, this part goes to the numerator. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Final answer, 3x squared. Okay, I'm going to leave a little space here for a minute, and I'm just going to go through and just split this up a little bit. This is the same as the 4th root of 16 cubed. The 4th root of 16 can be also written as 16 to the 1/4, or you can use your power chart and see what would you raise to the 4th to get to 16. The answer is 2. So we write it as 2 cubed, or 8. You can also take the 16, raise it to the 3/4, and use your caret button on your calculator to get the answer to this. Okay? You just have to remember that this number goes in the denominator. We call this a rational exponent. We're making a fraction exponent, basically. We put the 3 in the numerator and the 4 in the denominator. And finally, 1/16 to the 1/4 is the same as the 4th root of 1 over the 4th root of 16. Remember, this number just goes where the root is, and the 1 goes where the exponent is, so we just don't write it. So anything to the 1/4 or the 1/3 is just the 4th root or the cube root. So we can write any root as a rational or fraction exponent. And we can go into the opposite direction too. So the fourth root of 1 is just 1. And the fourth root of 16, we just did that one, is 2. So we get 1/2, and that's your answer. Okay, I've decided that anybody who takes notes on this and tries these is going to be able to use these notes for the quiz. And this is kind of a surprise, but it's just a bonus if you are watching the video and you know, trying to help yourself basically. I want to be helpful to you guys, but I also want to promote hard work. So, Quiz Monday. See you soon.